Hi everyone, welcome and thank you for spending your valuable time with us today. We've got about 30 minutes today and we would like to share with you some thoughts and insights about enterprise transformation. Specifically, the how and why something like innovation for us is integral to driving this. We are Navin Wathin and Anhan and represent the ASEAN Professional Services team. We are both based in Malaysia and have spent most of our AWS and prior lives in the heart of transformation engagements as both consultants and customers. We'll be sharing our experience and insights today and the common patterns that we see many of our customers adopting or using to overcome challenges to transform. On the agenda today, we will be sharing some of the things our customers tell us about why they are on this transformation journey. Then give you an interesting way of thinking about transformation, how you can look at this from the inside out, transforming core infrastructure to enable better customer experiences, or outside in, where we start with our customers, anticipate their needs, and think big on their behalf before working backwards to make this vision a reality. We'll then share some top tips to get started today, as well as how you can take these ideas to scale up. Along the way, we'll be sharing some of the unique things that Amazon as an organization thinks about to drive innovation at scale. Lots to go through, and I'm excited to share, so let's start. So let's start with the why. Why is transformation such a hot topic? Here are some of the themes that we see. Let us know in the comments if these resonate. So the first thing, and probably the one which is most valuable, is that change is becoming the new normal. And what we mean by this is our environment, the context which we operate in is changing. And it's changing on a pretty much consistent basis. I'm sure we've all been impacted by COVID-19. It's changed things on a fundamental level. And even though we have line of sight of a vaccine, can we be really sure that things will go back to the way they were? We're also seeing things like political and social unrest and the desire to build a world that's more diverse, fair, and inclusive. Climate change is making people stand up and take action to be more sustainable, and a crisis in the way we make energy is starting to impact how we make decisions, whether it's changing technology, changing people, or even changes in the operating environment. Change is something that's not going to go away, and as a result, we must also change and be adaptable. If we look through the lens of technology, we can see this change in concrete terms. This is a rough timeline of the so-called industrial revolutions, from steam-powered machines to combustible engines, from communication by telegram to communicating via the internet. These new technologies fundamentally shift what's possible and spark imagination for what could be. The interesting thing I want you to pay attention to is the time between these revolutions. 100 years between the first and second, 100 years between the second and third, 30 years since the last revolution. Yet already we are seeing breakthrough technology in the form of AI/ML that's building machines that can think, or in the field of genomics, where we are seeing the ability to decode the building blocks of life. And I'm sure there's a lot more to come. Change is not only the new normal, but the pace of change is accelerating faster than ever before. The ability to imagine and build a new world that has never been easier or more accessible. And that creativity and accessibility brings us to our next point. We now have new disruptors disrupting everything. This graph shows the number of companies who have gained access to the so-called unicorn club. In recent years, that is, companies that are valued at $1 billion mapped against time on the horizontal axis. The takeaway here is that new giant companies are being created at a rate we've not seen before. And these companies, and some new ones that don't exist yet, are probably entering your market soon. And to add to this change, we are seeing a change in the customer landscape. Customers are becoming more demanding than ever before. Those new disruptors we talked about are setting the bar for a high customer experience. And that bar is super high. Customers expect things to be mobile first, always connected. They care more about the environment and social issues than ever before and are making choices in what they consume to reflect that. Even the platforms that they choose to connect over are representations of what they stand for. Who's on Facebook? What about TikTok? How about Clubhouse? Our customers are more demanding than ever before. And in addition to their high demands, customers expect new ways to be engaged. Content is shifting to bite-sized videos. Experiences span platforms and format. Personalization and giving customers what they need at the right time in the right channel becomes a key differentiator. So the last thing we will say about the changing customer landscape, and not because it's the last thing we can say, is that we are seeing our customers, especially here in ASEAN, face a shift in demographics. There's a rising middle class in all countries, which means more demanding customers with even more choices. We are seeing an aging population and the need to respond to this challenge with dignity. Power and wealth is being distributed from the hands of the few to the hearts of the many, and a new generation comes of age and are ready to face the challenges we left them with creativity and curiosity. What's more, in 15 years, 45% of the world's population will be here in ASEAN. So if it's not clear by now, we want to reinforce that everything is changing. And this is something we can't fight against. We can't hide away and hope that change passes us by. We need to invent the future we want to see. Jeff Bezos, our ex-CEO, in his parting email, said this about Amazon and our need to invent. Invention is the root of our success. We've done crazy things together and then made them normal. We pioneered customer reviews, one-click, personalized recommendation, Prime's insanely fast shipping, just walk out shopping, the climate pledge, Kindle, Alexa, marketplace, infrastructure cloud computing, career choice, and much more. If you get it right, a few years after a surprising invention, the new thing becomes normal. People yawn, and that yawn is the greatest compliment an inventor can receive. So what I think Jeff is saying here is that the new inventions that everyone applauds will soon be normal. Customer demands will increase, and we will invent to meet these demands, then their demands will increase again. And that brings us to our first key takeaway about transformation. The first point we want you to take away is transformation is a way to continuously understand, meet, and exceed the changing demands of your customer. Our customers will always want more. And what we need to do as an organization is build the ability to keep raising the bar on their behalf. And that at heart is the reason why transformation is or should be on everyone's agenda. So let's pose a question. If everything's changing, how are you getting ready to deal with the new normal of tomorrow? We've helped many customers here and across the world to understand and answer this question. In most cases, we hear themes relating to innovation, modernization, or analytics. Next question. For your transformation, what are your challenges? Your context and history may be unique, but your challenges are common. We often hear that our customers are struggling to bring new products to market or reallocate resources to pursue and fend off disruptions. Our customers have tried tooling like agile and design thinking in isolation, but are unable to scale these across the entire organization. Sometimes our customers have forgotten what it means to be customer obsessed, are too inward looking, and have found themselves too far removed from what customers actually want. So how do we move forward? At AWS, we think a simple way to think about transformation is to drive it inside out, from the core infrastructure to enable application teams to build what customers want, and outside in, where we start with our customer, put ourselves in their shoes, leap into the future, think big on their behalf, and work backwards to make this happen. Whichever route we choose, we need to bear in mind something that Andy Jassy, our AWS CEO, said. It's really hard to build a business that sustains for a long period of time. To do it, you're going to have to reinvent yourself. And often, you're going to have to reinvent yourself multiple times over. And that leads us to takeaway 2. Transformation is a capability and not a destination. What we mean here is that we need to think about transformation as a skill to be developed versus an end state. We've seen before that everything can change in an instant. So if your transformation has a 5-year plan, can you really expect it to be relevant by the time you get there? Quite often, we see enterprises approach transformation in 2 distinct ways. It's either driven with innovation through labs or empowering small teams to work in new ways, or it's mass migration. In the first, we see success, but limited to small and disparate pockets. In the second, we often see narrow impact on TCO and the value and promise not being delivered. To present an alternative, we are seeing our customers see success with an integrated approach. So when our customers work inside out and outside in simultaneously, they see great success as these elements build on each other. As infrastructure and applications are modernized, this frees resources and enables speed and agility. As the culture transforms to be more customer-centric and experimental, new value is created, which often leverages new modern application architecture. A flywheel is created that builds momentum. Teams are empowered to build, they build great things, they earn more empowerment and more resources and build better things. Transformation is a capability, not a destination. We see time and time again that companies that embrace these capabilities are the ones that thrive and the ones that get to invent their own future. There are many capabilities to think about, and this list is not exhaustive. Let's dive into some that enable both the outside in and the inside out approach to transformation. When we say outside in transformation, what we mean is starting with your customer and working backwards. Here, our goal is to enable a culture of innovation where teams are empowered to think big and invent on behalf of their customers. And they are equipped with the right skills and structures to make these ideas a reality. There are 3 capabilities which we think should be a priority for organizations wanting to drive transformation from the outside in. First, customer obsession, the ability to deeply understand your customer. Next, experiment friendly, the ability to take these insights and turn these into concrete opportunities to test and learn about new value proposition. And finally, the ability to drive innovation to the edge and beyond, empowering those closest to the customers to make the right decisions at speed. Let's dive deeper. Customer obsession, the most important Amazon leadership principle, is a capability that enables empathy at scale. We mentioned earlier that customer demands are constantly shifting, and organizations that build a capability of customer obsession are best placed to sense and respond to these shifts. We can build this capability through mass enablement and training programs on tooling like design thinking, or in the case of Changi Airport, leveraging Amazon's working backwards to give teams a structured process to innovate. Combining this skill with listening posts or specific channels that enable you to gather data from your customers helps build empathy and perspective across the organization. Listening posts exist in many forms, but a common and really easy one is using something like AWS Connect, our cloud contact center solution, to automate the transcription and sentiment analysis of customer support calls. This and many other data sources can then be consolidated into one place. Insights are mined and they're made available to teams to make better decisions. Our customers are constantly telling us what matters to them. All we need to do is listen. Next up, after building empathy with your customers, organizations that win are organizations that become experiment friendly. Our context and operating environment has fundamentally changed. The best response to this uncertainty is to experiment with new possible outcomes, quickly reallocating resources away from the ones that don't show promise and into the ones that do. To be experiment friendly means that you become great at taking all the insights that you have, thinking big about what will delight your customers, and then inventing this future and building our ways towards that. And when we build, we need to understand that there are some things which we can become the best in the world at, and there are some things where it's better for us to leverage the work of others. For example, AWS has created a number of innovations that enable our customers to remove the undifferentiated heavy lifting. Recognition, for example, gives computer vision capabilities to any developer through API. And in the case of Woodside, they were able to quickly ramp up their 10,000 IoT sensors to 200,000, all managing this through AWS and enabling them to optimize their production and maintenance in a way they've never been able to do before. Lastly, to truly transform from the outside in, organizations are driving innovation to the edge and beyond. Here, organizations empower their teams to make good decisions on behalf of their customer and build ecosystems with emerging startups and partners to drive mutually beneficial outcomes. Here, the keys to success are in creating a standardized way to articulate and move ideas forward. For example, leveraging a tool like the Amazon PRFAQ, where we create a one-pager future-focused press release to describe a new idea and identify the hard questions we need to answer to make it a reality. This is a real concrete step towards standardization. As well as being able to describe ideas, innovation at the edge requires the decentralization of decision-making and resource allocation, so the teams who are closest to the problem have the tools and context to move forward as fast as possible. To supercharge this, we can build structures that enable multiple paths to yes, giving idea owners ways to pitch for and acquire the resources they need to invent. This is a difficult transition from centralized command and control to a more distributed model of innovation. But the organizations that are adopting this, like Astro, are building the muscles to respond to a changing context. Outside-in transformation is fundamentally about building deep empathy with the customer and organizing yourself in a way that allows you to best service their needs. Here, enterprises would highly benefit from building a capability in customer obsession, becoming experiment-friendly, and driving innovation to the edge and beyond. Next up, I'll hand over to Navin, who will share some insights on driving transformation from the other side, inside outwards.
We've heard from many of our customer CXOs how their data centers are seen as cost centers. Their IT talent is under constant pressure to just keep things from breaking down. Security is a constant concern as the IT grows and evolves and data can't be leveraged as it's in just too many places. With inside-out transformation, what we mean is to transform your application portfolio into enablers of automation, agility, and scale for the business. To transform your IT talent into trusted partners of your business, to best leverage new technologies like IoT, AI, ML, big data, and innovate on their behalf. To establish a security baseline that scales with your growth. And to switch to a cost model where you only pay for what you consume. Like outside in, we believe there are three capabilities that should be a priority for organizations wanting to drive transformation from the inside out. First, data informed. The ability to make informed business decisions based on real-time data. Next is becoming a high-frequency enterprise, one where speed of action and decision is demonstrated across the organization. And finally, to have the skill and the top-down will to undertake the transformation of your core IT and turn it into an engine of growth. Let's dive deeper. Data-informed organizations insist that all decisions are based on data. This enables true customer obsession, as An shared earlier, and removes the uncertainty from the process. However, a key challenge most face is that the enterprise data is distributed across multiple repositories, with different labels and schemas, and therefore not cross-referenced and validated. Thus, a key capability on inside-out transformation is to move these data repositories into a single access plane, like a data lake, and scrub the schemas and labels into a single enterprise taxonomy. AWS has helped hundreds of customers like Boost Axiata here to do just that. They have unlocked the enterprise data assets, gained real-time insights, and increased the fluency of their strategic decisions. This is also a key step towards becoming a high-frequency enterprise. A high-frequency enterprise is one that has adopted tools, automations, and most importantly, an operating model that enables them to move at speed for their customers. Modernizing your IT infrastructure and application portfolio drives this capability. At Amazon, once we started down the journey of breaking up our large monolith applications into nimble, reusable microservices and transformed our organization into small, what we call two-pizza teams, it unlocked the speed and efficiency that has enabled us to securely and reliably release over 15,000 updates into production per day. The inside-out transformation of core IT translates into growth across the organization. When the apps simply work and security and resilience is automated and embedded, IT teams can spend their time focused on internal and external customers, rapidly updating these apps to meet their needs, and also innovating on their behalf, all resulting in growth. Thomson Reuters saw just that when they undertook this inside-out transformation by migrating to AWS. So the third takeaway is that you can and should transform using both modes simultaneously. They will each drive outcomes for each other. And doing this in a structured manner helps you reinvent the way you do business, as well as reinventing the business you are in. So with this, how do we get started? First, it's key to align on outcomes to make sure everyone is on the same page of why this transformation matters. With that, and with the context of a constant changing background, organizations should design an experiment which they believe will move the needle on their outcomes and set the guardrails to maximize success. With that in place, you can empower a dedicated team and get started to accelerate the work. Along the way, a key learning from many of our customers is to not do this alone. While every company is unique, certain things come up time and time again, so find a partner who will help you navigate. Pretty much everything an organization wants can be summarized in 4 key outcomes: increase revenue, decrease costs, increase productivity, and reduce risk. All roads lead to these in some form. Start your transformation right by aligning to these outcomes. how you intend to measure these outcomes, and then building a hypothesis on which enabling technologies and initiatives could help drive towards this. The important part here is to have an open and honest conversation between your stakeholders and making a collective decision on what's important. Next, design an experiment. Note how the step here isn't make a 5-year plan. Transformation is messy. So while planning is useful, the plan itself quickly becomes out of date. Instead, approach it as an experiment that provides massive upside, but one which you are able to limit the blast radius of failure. Here your experiment could be uplift capability and provide a space to build, or perhaps migrate 50 apps in 50 days to build confidence. Doesn't matter so much, but it must be something which allows you to make progress towards your desired outcome. With the experiment defined, the job is to set the guardrails. Guardrails enable teams to move forward safely and at speed. They are predefined rules that help teams understand what they can and cannot do. They're also automated alerts that can be triggered when teams go out of bounds. We can set strategic guardrails that help teams work on ideas that are aligned to an enterprise strategy, or financial guardrails that enable teams to make a decision provided it's within certain financial constraints. Also technical ones that dictate that all communication between apps must be through hardened APIs. Regardless of type, guardrails make the implicit boundaries explicit. And once teams understand this, they're often able to operate at speed. Next, with the guardrails in place and the experiment defined, the work is in mobilizing and empowering a team to make it happen. At Amazon, we quite often talk about the concept of 2 pizza teams, which have been integral to our ability to move fast and delight our customers. 2 pizza teams are small and cross-functional teams that have everything they need to drive towards an agreed outcome, with minimal dependencies on other teams. They're called 2 pizza teams because if you can't feed them with 2 pizzas, the team's too big. Finally, we have aligned outcomes, a good experiment defined, the guardrails to operate, and the empowered teams. The last part of the puzzle is to accelerate the work. Here we use things like agile ways of working or something like experience-based acceleration as tools to ensure that the teams are focused on building and shipping instead of thinking and planning. The essence of this is to build an environment where teams can do their best work and create value for the organization incrementally and frequently. So in summary, starting your transformation right boils down to having small empowered teams that own their outcome and giving them the ability to experiment. Now I'll hand over to An, who will talk about scaling.
We spent the bulk of today on getting started, as that's where we see many of our customers asking for help. These customers are either starting a new transformation or finding themselves at a stall. And in these cases, the tactics we mentioned previously will really help. To give you the fuller picture, there are also some consistent patterns to scale up. Scaling up your transformation means taking it beyond the initial pockets. To scale, organizations must first own their own narrative and build a new story about what it means to be an enterprise that operates and delivers value in this new world. We have to build a story where transformation is seen as a capability and not a destination, and where we believe an enroll and engage management style beats the traditional mode of command and control. Next, organizations must build an environment that becomes experiment-friendly. This means that failure is reframed as learning, and teams feel safe enough to be bold and invent a future that does not exist. As John Brady, the CISO of US-based regulator FINRA says, you must lower the cost of curiosity. To scale, we also need to change the way we think about talent. To raise the bar on talent, our hiring process for externals must change to attract individuals with new types of skills. Internally, we must double down on capability building to ensure our people remain relevant. On top of this, we can create structures that ease the mobility of staff within the organization and help talent find a place in the organization that helps them show up and do their best work. Scaling up also means changing the operating model to one that is best placed to serve customer needs. Here, we see lots of success in organizing around customer goals, creating product teams that have everything they need to invent and delight these customers. Finally, with these in place, you build a flywheel that spins and brings momentum to your transformation. As teams become more empowered, they build and create more success. With this success, more trust is built, and as a result, more resources and excitement becomes available. And with that, more empowerment leads to greater success, and on and on and on, spinning faster and faster. The BBC is one of the thousands of customers to have done just that, to continuously scale and meet the demands of a global audience. And that brings us to our last takeaway: maintain momentum and scale. Change the way you operate and enable your teams to build the products that will truly delight your current and future customers. I'll hand over to Navin now to close us out.
So that brings us to the end of our topic. But do feel free to reach out if you'd like to discuss further. We talked about the changing context that we all face, and in summary, hope to leave you with 5 key takeaways about transformation. First is to recognize that transformation is actually a capability and not a destination. The world is in a constant state of flux, and we need to build the skill to continuously transform. Second, transformation is the way for us to continuously understand, meet, and exceed the changing demands of our customer. Here we mentioned that it's important to build the capability for empathy at scale and use that to build something delightful. Takeaway 3 is talking about the 2 different ways to transform and why doing them both makes each of them stronger. Go outside in by starting with the customer and working backwards, and inside out by changing your core infrastructure and enabling teams to build what customers want. Fourth, start with small, empowered teams who own the outcome and let them experiment. And finally, scale by changing your operating model to become customer-aligned and product-organized. And here's your first 3 steps. 1, start your transformation in the area of your business that's going to have the biggest impact. 2, be super focused on your business outcomes and align your organization to those. 3, work with experienced partners who have not only helped thousands of other enterprises transform successfully, but also continuously transform themselves. For example, call us, AWS Professional Services. You can also learn more about any of the AWS services you've heard about today by going to our training and certification portal. And with that, we're Navin and An. Thank you very much for your time today. We hope you have found this session useful. Happy transforming. Please also do complete the session survey. Your feedback is crucial for us to keep improving these sessions. Also, come have a conversation with us. Thank you.